So the big picture for this lesson is properties of parallelograms. You're going to be using these properties to write and solve equations, find unknown measures, and also you're going to practice completing proofs. Let's go through the properties. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral where both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. That's the definition of a parallelogram, and it's also a property that they have. Both pairs of opposite sides are congruent for a parallelogram, and you can see the tick marks are marked accordingly. So segments AD and BC, those are congruent. Segments AB and DC, those are congruent. Okay, so there's this interesting GeoGebra. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to rotate. See how it's symmetrical? That means both pairs of opposite sides are congruent, because I rotated 180 degrees, and the sides are congruent to each other. Angle relationships. If you have a parallelogram, both pairs of opposite angles are congruent. So angle A is congruent to angle C, angle B is congruent to angle D. And you can do the same idea with this GeoGebra. Rotate 180 degrees, and you can see that both pairs of opposite angles are congruent because they map to each other, just like that. Diagonals bisect each other. So if you have a parallelogram, in this case, segment AM is congruent to segment CM. Segment DM is congruent to segment BM. Same deal again. You can see that the diagonals bisect each other because when you rotate 180 degrees, each half of the diagonal is congruent to the other. So for a parallelogram, both pairs of consecutive angles are supplementary. So for example, measure of angle A plus measure of angle B is 180 degrees, and measure of angle A plus measure of angle D is 180 degrees. You have to have two pairs of consecutive angles supplementary to make a parallelogram. Okay, so if you look here, you can see how those angles are supplementary. Okay, see, you have supplementary angles here, and this angle maps out to this angle here. So like I said in the beginning of the video, you're going to use these properties to write and solve equations, solve for unknown angle measures, and also you're going to do some proof practice. That's the big picture.